Yes, first we shall go to our EC2, that is here.
In the EC2 screen, you will find out that here you have your volume, snapshots, and lifecycle manager and all those things. So what we shall do is that we shall go ahead for creating a new EC2 instance, and we shall try to see that how these volumes and these things are working about that. Okay, so I'm going to launch an instance. Let me take this one, and you can see it is already coming with a particular storage device, right? So this is coming with an 8 GB of storage. I cannot really make it less than 8, but I can make it more than 8. I mean, if I make it 6 or something, and I try to go, you can see that it is blocking me, but I can definitely go it more than 8 because 8 is the base size for this one. So whenever you're launching a machine, whatever size by default it shows, that is the base size. You can go less than that, but if we go for 10, you can see it is perfectly fine. It is taking it. So let me keep it 8 anyway. So this is the volume that you're going to create with this particular thing. This is storage. This is getting launched within, let's say, the default VPC. You can launch it anywhere. I'm not really worrying about the network right now. It can be anywhere. Okay, fine. Let me launch it and say my VPC. Okay, my subnet one in the public one. I want to do it. Come to the security group section, and there is no existing security group. So let us create one. And this name is okay for me. I'm going to go for review and launch, and ultimately launch this, right? So I'm going to launch this with the particular key pair that I have on this machine. I'm launching this. So let's wait for a minute for the thing to be launched. Okay, so the machine is right now launched. Okay, so we have to open this thing up in our terminal. So I'm copying this one, and let me open up MobiXterm. That's the practice. Okay, yum update with the Y flag. Now till the thing, you can see it has been launched over here. I'm going to run a yum update. Okay, because that's the practice. Okay, yum update with the Y flag. Now till the point it is doing that, let me show you something. If I come back to my instances, this one in the description section, if you see, you'll find out that there is an information about the root device and the block devices. So now over here we have only one device, so that is definitely a block device, Elastic Block Store, right? EBS, that's called the block device. That is also the root also. I mean, if you click over here, it'll tell you what is the volume ID. You can see it is 8B36C, 8B36C. That is the volume ID. Here also you'll find the same one, 8B36C, because we have only one. Okay. So if I want to find that out, one option can be just I can just open this thing up in a new tab, or else I could have come to volumes and identified that. Both are valid ways, right? So right now it will also come to volumes only, taking a little time. So you can see here is the volume, that is 8 GB in size, right? So this is the volume, it has got filtered. You can see 8B36C, that is the volume ID. If you expand this, you'll find the same thing. Now here what is happening, this has got 8 GB of size. That is because we know that we had actually went for 8 GB of size, right, or originally. So it is coming with 8 GB of size. And you can see that it is telling that which point of time it was created and all those things, the availability zones, and every single thing is coming up. Here also there is a relation with the attachment information where it talks about the instance. So from the instance you can come here, from here you can go to the instance. Both have got the information about both of them. So this is our volume. Now understand one thing, this volume is just the hard disk. So that means whatever things I install on this machine or whatever I do about this machine, all of the things are going to be getting stored in this particular volume, right? Because that's what a hard disk is. I mean, let's assume that you have a Windows computer and you're playing games. So if you're playing games, you have installed a game. Where is the game installed? It is installed on your hard disk. If I install any package on this machine, let's say if I install an HTTPD, okay, that is a web server, you will see that that particular web server is basically installed on where? On the hard disk of the machine, right? So that will be installed within this volume. So let us try to go ahead and let us try to do that. Okay, so I'm coming over here. Oh, it got exited. So let us say I'm going to install HTTPD, which is the web server. And it is done. So we can now go for starting the web server, sudo service Oh, it is not taking. I think it is getting stuck for some reason. I have installed HTTPD on this machine, right? So I was trying to switch on the service. Sudo service HTTPD start. So if I run that, now our web server is running, okay? So let us go ahead and let us check it out that our web server is running. Now, for the web server, we to be able to reach to the web server, we need to open it up in the security group, right? Because in the security group right now, if you see the inbound rules, you will see only port number 22 is open. We need to open up port number 80 because that is where HTTP servers go, right? 80. So let's do that. Go to inbound rules and let's add port number 80 over here. Okay, from any traffic anywhere. Okay. So if I do that, it will immediately add the HTTP rule. You can see it has added the HTTP rule, port number 80. So if I take the IP address of this machine and I try to open it up in a new tab, so you shall be able to see that it is loading the test page of the HTTP web server. But I want to modify this page a little bit. I want to make it customized, right? So I want to modify this page. I'll just create a page for myself, okay? Or let's have to create a new page with the name index.html within a particular location. There is a location called where www HTML. Remember this thing. This is the default location for any Apache web server. How do I know that? I know that because it is written over here. You may now add content to the directory where www HTML. So from here I know that where www HTML is basically the path where I can create my index files. Okay. So now we can go ahead and we can create a new file over here with the name index.html. And you can see it is opening up a blank file. Let me go ahead and let me write down, hi all, this is the morning session in Teqstories. Okay, just this much I'm writing. Now if I do so, now you will see that right now if I just exit this particular thing and I go back over here, if I refresh, you will see that this message is coming, hi all, this is the morning session in Teqstories. So this is right now what is happening in our volume, right? Because we are storing all this data where? In our hard disk. All these changes I'm doing, I'm creating a new index file and all those things that I'm doing. Why do you think this change is written? This change is written in the hard disk. Another thing I want to do over here, I actually want to enable HTTPD. What that will mean? That will mean is that if this machine is restarted, whenever this machine starts up, it will automatically start up the HTTPD service as well. So it is like adding the HTTPD service on the startup. That is basically what it means, right? So I just did that. I just added this thing in the startup. So whenever I start this machine for the very first time or whatever, now this one, or if I stop and start it once again, it will automatically load the HTTPD service. That is what this line is doing. Sudo systemctl enable HTTPD. So now that I have done so much of things, what I want to do at this particular point, I want to create a backup of my hard disk. That's what a snapshot is. So you understood what is a volume. The volume is the hard disk itself. And when I create a backup of my hard disk, that is going to be called as a snapshot. And that is going to come and sit in this snapshot screen. Now either you can create a snapshot by clicking on this button, or you can right click on the volume and say that hey, I want to create a snapshot for this guy. It's your choice. I mean, either you go this way or that way, whatever you want to do. So let us say I'm going to write down a description about this. I'm going to say that this is customized HTTP website, right? So that's more sort of a website. So I'm saying that I'm going to create a snapshot. And once I do that, I will find out that in the snapshots screen, it is actually creating a snapshot, right? And it says that this is a customized HTTP website. So the information about this particular HTTP website, where the text comes like this and the machine has the HTTP installation, it is enabled HTTP. So when we first time launch it, we can have it. All these things, all this information about this particular thing has been stored in the snapshot. So we can see this is done, right? So this is over. So we have got the 8 GB is the size, because we know that the volume was 8 GB in size. So if you have a 8 GB sized volume and you want to take an image out of that. A snapshot is essentially just pulling out an image, right? So that is also going to be 8 GB itself. If you want, we can provide it a name like, let's say, my snap or something like that. That's your choice. I mean, any name you can give. So now on this particular snapshot, now what is happening? See, now here it has actually taken an image of the whatever the situation was of the hard disk. Now, if I do some further changes, let us say, for example, let me work on a scenario. Let us say that by mistake I have deleted the remove. I've deleted the HTTPD. Okay, it is gone. I have removed it. Gone. So there is no longer any HTTPD on this machine. I mean, if I hit this IP address right now, nothing will happen. It will keep on rotating. That's it. And see, it says that this site cannot be reached. So this particular thing is just refusing the connection because the HTTPD itself, which was running over there, has been uninstalled of this machine. Now we can consider this as a corruption, that the machine has got corrupted. Something is not working. So when you find out that there is something is not working, something got corrupted. Let's say you are deploying some certain thing on a machine, right? So every single day you are doing an incremental deployment. Means today you deploy A, tomorrow you deploy B, day after tomorrow you deploy C, D, E, F, G, H, like that. Now let's say one day you deploy T, and when you deploy T, you find out that suddenly the machine is blank. I mean, nothing is working out. Now till PQRS, the deployment was done, but T you deployed, it got blank. At this particular situation, what you can do is that you can just, in case you have a daily backup of this machine or of this particular volume, you can just restore it back from there. You can restore it back from the snapshot. So let us assume that right now I try to do something and unfortunately my HTTP got hampered. My web server itself is not responding anymore. Now I do not have enough time to go ahead and try to rectify every single thing. Maybe a lot of places it has got a problematic situation. I don't want to rectify every single thing over here because that is a little bit time consuming as well as not a very practical scenario. Let's say solution in this particular scenario. Okay, so that is the situation. So in this case, what you can do, you can come to the snapshot and what you can do is that you can just create another volume from the snapshot and replace the original volume. Okay, how can we do so? Let's come to volumes. What is this? Security group. So let's come to volumes. So I want to pull out this volume first of this machine. I want to create a new volume from the snapshot and attach that. That's my idea. It is like just pulling out an older hard disk and pushing in a new hard disk. Simple. Okay. So now, see how I'm going to do that. First thing I need to do, I need to stop the instance because the instance itself is running. I really cannot go ahead and I really cannot pull out this hard disk. That will just not work out, right? So I have to first stop the instance. So let me stop it. As soon as I will stop the instance, you will see here it has got exited. Okay, because the machine is stopped. It'll take a little while and it will get stopped eventually. Now till the time it is getting stopped, let us try to see the snapshot restoration. Okay, so let's come to the snapshot over here. Let us try to create a volume out of this. So right click, create volume. It is asking that how much size you want. It says that the minimum size supported is 1 GB, maximum is 16,384 GB. So that is the highest sized volume you can have on AWS. Now minimum size 1 GB doesn't really mean that this volume also can go till 1 GB. I mean, this is just that a volume can at least be 1 GB. It does not mean that this volume can be, let's say, 1 GB. Okay, so that's something that you have to understand. Now here you can see that minimum is 1 GB, maximum is 16,384 GB, but of course it says that minimum it can be 1 GB. It doesn't mean that it will be actually 1 GB will be supported everywhere, because we know that our image size is 8 GB, so we can put it in a 8 GB volume. So it is connected. Our main volume was 8 GB, so when you created an image, that could have been minimum 8 GB, maximum whatever you want to keep it. Now when you're putting this image into another volume, right? So we are kind of trying to burn a volume, right? You know the word burn, right? In the older days when we are talking about CDs and DVDs, we'll say that burn a DVD, burn a CD. So when you're trying to burn this image on a volume, we at least need an 8 GB container, because the thing itself is 8 GB of size, the image, right? So that is something that is very evident over here. I cannot go less than 8 GB. I cannot write 4 GB or something, right? It will not be worked out. It says that the size of the volume can only be increased and not decreased. but I can definitely go for 80 GB. That's fine. I don't need it here, but I can do that if I want to. This availability zone is going to play a very vital role, extremely big vital role. See, one volume can only be attached to a particular server if that volume and the server are in the same availability zones. If there is a hard disk and there is a computer, you can only put the hard disk within the computer if they are in the same data center. If the data center of the hard disk is something else and the computer is in another data center, how can you put the hard disk into that computer? They are in two different geographical locations. Therefore, they are needed to be in the same availability zone. That's a mandate. Let me show you the effect if I don't keep in the same availability zone. See this. So let us say I'm creating it US East 1A. Okay, I'm going to create that. So it's in a different availability zone because we saw that our machine is in US East 1B. So if you come to the volumes section, you will find out this is the new volume that got created, right? 8B36C, that is still there, and this is the new one. So let me pull out this hard disk first. Detach volume. Asking, do you want to detach? Really? Yeah, sure, I want to do it. Detach. So if I refresh, you will see that it has been pulled out. But this is still not connected. Let me connect this one right now with the same. So if I come back over here, you remember, right? We have to connect in dev xvda. That is the port where our root device should go. If I refresh, you will see this information is gone because right now there is no hard disk. We have pulled out the hard disk. Let's go ahead and let us try to connect this guy. So I'm going to say attach volume. And you can see it is searching only in US East 1A because I told you, right? If I click here, the only thing you will find out over here is the WordPress server. The other one is not coming because the other one is not here. The WordPress server is in US East 1A, by the way. It is in 1A. So only this one is being displayed over here. This, it cannot even fetch. There is an option to edit, right? So if I try to edit also, there is an option to edit. See, modify volume. If I click here, you will see it allows you to change everything apart from the data center. You cannot change the availability zone. Absolutely not. There is no way you can do that. So the only way you can do that is from the snapshot when you're creating the volume. So this volume is pretty much unusable to us. We can just go ahead and delete this. And what you can do, we can again come back to our snap screen and we can again create a volume, and this time in the correct availability zone. So you can do select US East 1B where it is originally. I'm going to create the volume. So this point of time, if I come back over here and I try to creating, if I try to connect it, right, attach volume, this time you will see just got a little bit weird. I don't know why, but anyway, you can see that this particular thing is coming up, US East 1B, and this time I can find out this particular machine. This A424 is definitely our machine actually. Yeah, A424. This is our machine. So you can see it is finding it out. Now look here, it is telling that, hey, connect it to dev SDF. Now we know we don't want to connect it here, but let's assume that we just allow it to connect it here. See what happens. We know we have to connect to XVDA, right? But let us say I'm connecting it here because it is just suggesting me something. Attach. If I come back and I refresh, you will see that the block device is back, but the root device is still not back because the root device has to be in XVDA. If I try to launch this machine, it will say that it cannot launch. See, it says that invalid value for the instance ID, right? Instance does not have a volume attached to the root. There is nothing in the dev XVDA. It has to be there. If it is not there, it will not work out. So this is the path where it is looking for the volume, and you have provided in some other way, other path. So if it was a secondary hard disk or a tertiary hard disk or the external hard disk that you put, then it is fine in another path. But if it is the root volume, it has to be in the root path. This is where we want this thing. We will come back, we'll detach it once again and reattach it in the correct port. So you can just think like you are pulling it out of the port of your motherboard and pushing it in another one, right? So just like that, physically what you do. This is the path, right? Dev XVDA. Attach. And once I do so, if I come back and if I try to refresh, and you will see that my root device is also back. I have got both of them. So now I have got a hard disk in my root device, which hard disk has got a correct installation of HTTPD. Because in the other one I had already deleted that. Here there is a correct installation of HTTPD. So you can see that this particular thing that I have connected with this, and it is appearing over here. So now we can actually go ahead and start this machine. Okay. So let's try to start it. Let's see what happens if we start it. And this will start at this point of time actually. It is okay now. It's running. So last time we had seen that our HTTPD was uninstalled, but this time, since we have replaced the hard disk with a proper snapshot from which we had created that particular thing where HTTPD was running, so if I hit this, I am expecting to see that it is actually, and it is working. So just for a clearer understanding, if I just go ahead and try to draw a picture about this, that's what I have done so far. So just see this thing, just see the steps. I'll just write in the steps what I did. So there was my machine, and let us assume that in this machine, this is the hard disk portion. Okay. So I'll just color it with a particular color. Let's say black or something. So this was my hard disk in my machine. Now in this thing, I had this thing, and then what I did, I had installed HTTPD over here, right? So what happened? See, I got this thing, right? I had installed HTTPD. So now this guy is coming with HTTPD installation over here. And of course customized index, right? So custom website, you can say. So this was the thing that we did on this one. After doing this, what I did, see, we basically completely disrupted this particular thing, right? So we disrupted this. So we deleted stuffs and we made it go corrupt basically. But before we had made it go corrupt, we had did a wonderful thing, that we actually had taken a backup of this thing, right? So we created a backup of this machine just over here. Backup of the machine in the sense backup of the hard disk, right? Just over here we did a backup. So what we did over here, see, so let us assume that this circle is the backup, right? So we created this, right? So this one is a backup where we had all the stuffs, right? So we had our HTTPD and custom website. These things were there in this backup. This was there. Now when this machine got corrupt, then what we did, we basically had pulled out the hard disk from the machine, right? So we just disconnected the hard disk. We disconnected the hard disk from the machine. We created a new hard disk out of this snapshot. So of course you can understand that if I am creating a new hard disk of this snapshot, that will definitely come with this particular things installed, because the snapshot has that information. So we created this, and after doing this, we attached it back to our machine. Therefore what happened, it happened like that this particular thing again came inside the machine, and our machine was responding perfectly fine. These are the exact steps that we did basically. And of course we can delete this volume. If you want, you can delete your snapshot as well. I mean, we have anywhere stored. However, I'll not delete it right now. I'll show you certain things about it. Okay. Okay, that volume is gone, you can see. So I'll show you certain things about it. If I right click on this, you will see there are a lot of things. But the most important two things over here, one is modify permissions. Okay. So this particular snapshot, I can give a permission to other people to actually watch this or use this snapshot. How I can do so? If I click over here, it'll ask me if the snapshot is currently public or private. If I make it public, then everybody can use it. Every single person on earth, whoever is there on AWS. But I don't want that. I want it to be private. But I want other people to have an access to this particular thing. So if I put your account number over here and I add a permission, you will be able to see this particular snapshot in your account within North Virginia. Another thing we can do about this is that we can right click, we can click on copy. Okay, so if I copy this thing, I can send this particular snapshot from this region to other region, because snapshots are bound by region. If I go to a different region, let's say if I go to, for example, California, you will see that this snap will not be is not being displayed over there. Okay, So you'll see it is empty over here. So it was present in Virginia. Therefore, if I want to get this particular thing in California, I can right click, I can copy, and I can say that please copy it to California. And if I do so, then you will see that this particular thing is appearing. So if I write down, let's say, California, and I click on copy, you will see now it is saying that, hey, it is getting copied, right? So we have to go to California to see the progress. If I go to California and I see the progress, you will see it is being copied over here. See, it is telling this is being copied, and this is the custom whatever I had written over there. This is the custom HTTP website, and all these things are working. So it takes a little time to get copied, because understand this point that is actually physically getting copied all byte by byte from, or it's a bit by bit from your Virginia to California, which are two different locations altogether on the earth. So it takes a little time, but however it will get copied. Okay, and you can now create a let's say if you have a machine over here, you can restore it from here also, and you can basically play with it. You can keep it anywhere, wherever you want. So you can keep on copying it everywhere. So the copy is the way to copy it in different regions, and the modify permission is the way to allow other AWS accounts to use that. Okay. Let me delete it anyway. I mean, there is no point in copying it. You understood the point, right? It'll take a lot of time to get copied. If I'm modifying the permission and giving you a permission to use this particular snapshot, then it will not come under owned by me, by the way. So when you come to snapshots, by default it opens up owned by me. You will see nothing is coming. You have to go to private snapshots. If you go there, then you will find out this is appearing, because if you remember, we had that checkbox, right? Private or public. It was kept as private. So if you want to see that, you have to go to private snapshots. If it was public, you can go to public snapshots. And if I take you here, you will see there are 30,102 snapshots that people all over the globe has made public. So there are snapshots for 3 GB size, 1 GB size, different 40 GB size. People have kept on creating snapshots, and they have stored it over there. So if you need this particular thing, let's say they're saying, see, that EBS Ubuntu Trust AMD. Okay, I don't understand why this was created, but whatever. Something, let's say you're taking, okay, Amazon AMI HVM, whatever kind of a snapshot you are finding out over there. If you want to use them, you can just go ahead and you can basically create a volume out of it and attach with your machine, and you can use them. Lot of people have created a lot of snapshots over here. But of course, I mean, in case it is private, it come under private. As of now, if I do private only, mine will come, because that is the only snapshot that I have with myself, which is private. If I allow you, you will also find it under private. Owned by me is only for the snapshots that you are the owner of. If I give you a permission to see, that does not make you the owner. If I give you a permission to see, that just allows you to see. As simple as that. I still have the ownership. If I delete it, it will get deleted from your account also. You cannot see it over there. It will be gone. And of course, I can delete this. And if I delete it, it is gone. Completely deleted. Now that you understood the snapshots, how we can take a snapshot. Now there is a very cool thing over here that is known as Lifecycle Manager. Now this Lifecycle Manager is a thing that allows you to create a snapshot automation. That means every single day you want to take a snapshot, things like that. See how it works out. You come to the snapshot lifecycle policy and you write down a description. Let's say this is my policy. I mean, of course, definitely not this kind of a name. You should write something that is more meaningful. You should write down something which is more meaningful. Now you can see it is asking that whether you want to take a snap of a volume or an instance. Now this is funny, because I told you that snapshot is always a backup of a hard disk. So why is it giving me an option to select an instance? Well, when you say a volume, you are talking about a specific volume. I mean, this particular hard disk is going to take a backup, and that is perfectly fine. If you say an instance, it will automatically take all the volumes that is attached to that instance. Instance does not mean it is going to take a backup of the instance. It is still taking the volume, but now you are saying that, okay, this machine, whatever hard disks I have, maybe 1 or maybe 10 hard disks. Of course, one can be root, the others can be the external hard disks and all those things. So all these hard disks you want to go ahead and take a backup. Then you can select instance. But in both the cases, remember, it is taking C. This policy will be applied to EBS volumes with any of the following tags. You have to mention tags also over here, okay? I mean, let's say I want to take a backup of the WordPress server. Where is it? Here. So now the hard disk that is there in the WordPress server, that will be kept on being backed up. So if by chance my server goes down, I can immediately supply it back from here if my data is corrupt or something. Then comes the schedule name. They're calling it default schedule. You can write your own schedule name, whatever name you want to give over here. This policy will be running, it is telling every 12 hours. Now this is a very critical thing to decide. You can start as least as 1 hour. So every single hour you are running the policy, means every hour you're taking a backup. If I make it 12 hours, the highest is 24. If I make it 24 hours, that will be every day 1. So after how much ever time you want to keep on repeating this particular task. So if you do it 24 hours, then every 24 hours it will be taking 1 backup. If you make it 12 hours, every day two backups. If you make it 1 hour, then every day 24 backups. That's how it will be taking the things. Let us say I'm keeping it 24 hours. So every day I want one backup. And then there is a time. It is asking that what point of time I want the backup to be taken. Now this time comes in UTC. This time comes in UTC. That simply means that you have to add 5:30 if you want to calculate in the Indian time zone. The Indian time zone is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of the Greenwich Mean Time. So this one is the Greenwich Mean Time, UTC, Universal Time Constant, something it is called. So now this one, it is telling 9. So 9 means basically that is 2:30 in India, because 9 plus 5 is 14. 14:30, that is 2:30 in the afternoon in India. Okay, so you have to decide the time according to your whatever your client has given you a time to use and all those things. Now here you can see it is telling the snapshots start being created within 1 hour of the specified start time. What it means? That means that if I am telling that you need to take the backup at 2:30 in the afternoon, that is what it is doing right now, it will actually take the backup between 2:30 and 3:30. Snapshots start being created within 1 hour of the specified start time. If I am saying that 2:30 it has to be created, it will be created between 2:30 and 3:30. It will never be created exactly at 2:30. In fact, I have never seen it to happen. It will always take between the 1 hour of time. And then comes the retention type. Retention type count. What it means? How many backups you want to retain? It is storing in counts. Let's say I'm writing 25. So that means 25 days backup will be there, because every day I'm taking one backup. So I'm telling the 25 backups I want to keep. So when the 26th day will come, the oldest backup will be deleted. It will always be having the latest 25 backups with yours. Of course, when you have not yet got 25 backups, it is just 5 days. Then you have 5 backups. But once you cross 25 backups, then you will see the oldest ones every single day are deleted. So you'll be having the latest 25 backups with yourself. The other form of retention type you find is age. In the age, you can select that month, day, year, whatever you want to go. You can see, like, so I'm writing, let's say age is going to be 15 days. That means it is going to store 15 backups. That is because 24 hours per I'm taking. If I make it, let's say 6 hours backup every single day, every single 6 hours I'm going to take a backup. So that means in one day, 4 into 6 is 24, right? So I'm taking 4 backups every single day. So if I say 15 days of backup, that will become 4 into 15, 60 backups. In this kind of, I mean, you can go till years also, you can make it 15 years. I mean, this is just terribly bad. I mean, you create a backup, your son will come and they will use the backup, basically 15 years of backup. However, you got the point. So we want to go for a particular, whatever way we want to go. So let us say I'm going for count, and I'm saying that, okay, 25 counts you keep. 6 hours a day I'm taking, remember. So I'm taking 6 hours a day, that means in one day I'm getting 4. So this is just 6 days of backup, because 6 days will mean 24, basically it's 25. 6 days of backup you're keeping. So depending upon this calculation will be changing the number of backups you have, right? So you can ignore these parts and you can come directly below over here where you're seeing the summary. It says this policy will create a consistent set of snapshots for each instance that are tagged every 6 hours starting at 9 UTC. A maximum of 25 snapshots will be retained of a target instance. The oldest snapshot retained will be 6.3 days old. So it is calculating that every day you are taking 4 backups of what much, and this is the output of the calculation. And then you have this enabling or disabling the policy. If you say enable the policy, then the policy will be enabled. If you say disable, then it will be created but not active yet. So let's say I'm clicking on create policy, you'll see that the policy will come up. Okay, so it will show that the policy is coming up. And here you go, the policy is enabled, right? So now this will keep on creating snapshots over here every day at, let's say, 2:30, right? So that's the idea, because that's what I've said over there. So see, every 6 hours it will keep on taking backup. I'll keep this policy over here. So that is all about your snapshots basically. So that is this section, snapshots and volumes. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is going to be your AMI, or the Amazon machine image, right? So I want to tell you something. See, okay, I mean it is opening up like this, but that's not what we wanted. So let's come over here. You can see this. I have this server, right? And we know that when we have this server, if we just kind of go ahead and hit this on the web browser, we get to see this particular thing. Now let us say, I think people have heard about LAMP stack and all those things, right? So LAMP stack, what is LAMP stack? A Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So basically, you are taking a Linux machine, you're installing an Apache web server, you're installing the PHP engine over there, and you're installing the MySQL database server, and you're keeping all these things together, because a lot of times when you try to deploy certain things, it requires a LAMP stack. Like example, WordPress. This WordPress that is running over here, you can see there is a running WordPress over here. Now on this machine, WordPress requires a LAMP stack. So there are many things that you require a LAMP stack to be present before you can approach that. It is a good idea. Now by default, there is no machine that is present over here which you can launch directly, which has a LAMP stack pre-installed. Blank Linux will come. Every single time you want to work with something, you have to install your LAMP stack by yourself. You have to install the Apache, you have to install the MySQL, you have to install the PHP. So let us try to do that change over here. Okay, let's try to do that change. Let me open this thing up on my mobile stem once again. Nice. So we can see we have opened it up in our mobile stem. So let me go ahead and let me install MySQL and PHP as well, because Apache is anyway installed. Apache means HTTPD. That is anyway installed. Let me go for this too. So I'm going to write down sudo yum install PHP as well as MySQL server, or MariaDB server. MariaDB is just MySQL. Let me go for this too. So now you can see that both the things are installed. So if I go for like PHP version, I think I'll be able to see that. I think it is -v or something. Yeah. So you can see it is saying that PHP version 5.4.16, whatever. It has installed certain things, right? So we can do one thing. Now normally, if in case you are working in the deployment team or you are working in this particular thing, you have to work with PHP for some reason. You will find out that you actually need to go for checking this thing, right? So how do you check this thing? You check this thing. Let me once again go to var www html. If I do an ls over here, I will see that I have got index.html over here. Now if I need to figure out if my PHP is working or not, I can just go ahead and get rid of this index.html. So I'll remove, I'll write a sudo, because this is not owned by me, sudo rm index.html. I can do that, and then I can again create, but this time I am going to create index.php instead of creating HTML, because HTML is fine, that can be directly run by the Apache itself without requirement of the PHP engine, but I want to check the PHP. So I'm now creating index.php. The extension is changing. Okay, I wanted PHP actually, so let me come out index.php, and now let me write down certain things over here. I'm going to write down PHP. Now this is a very common thing that you should be writing typically, and PHP info. So that is a function called PHP info that will show you the details about the PHP installation that is over there. So that's something that I want to take. I think this is the correct syntax. This might be wrong also. Here, and I refresh, and you can see the PHP info page is coming up. So this is definitely working, the formation. So my Apache and PHP are now talking to each other. They are working. My Apache can pick up the PHP engine, and it can actually display the things accordingly. So now this is a very sweet spot. So where you are seeing this thing is working. Now what I want, I do not have any image with myself that comes, that by default ships with Amazon, that has got this particular thing. So what I can do is I can actually go ahead and I can take an image of this. I can store it as an Amazon machine image, not a snapshot. If I take a snapshot, then I have to create a new machine. I have to replace the volume. That's too many of things over here, but I am just going to create an image out of this. So just like I launch a server, I can launch exactly this thing directly, so that I can directly start working on this machine. I need to install PHP, install MariaDB, I mean MySQL or Apache. I don't need to do that. That will already be done. So at this situation, I want to store this as an image. So when I start, it starts at this point itself. Do it. See, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say that create an image. It is asking for the name. You can give it a name. You can say that my lamp because this is a lamp stack. Acha, there is an option called no reboot. Now you should not check mark it, okay? So what did you see? I'll tell you. Generally, what happens when you're trying to take a snapshot of a machine, an image of a machine, an image will also create a snapshot, by the way. Because when you're trying to create an image, it is basically a launchable template, right? It is a template that can be launched directly. But where will the information be stored? Whatever is there in the hard disk of that machine, the PHP is there in the hard disk, right? Remember what I told earlier. Anything that you install, that goes in the hard disk. If I'm trying to create a template from which we can just launch a server directly, that means it has to come with a hard disk as well, right? Therefore, it will also create a snapshot. When you create an image, it creates a snapshot definitely, because it has to store the hard disk information as well. Let us try to see this thing with the photographs for a better understanding what I'm trying to say over here. So let us say I had a server, and in this server I had installed a lot of things. Let me draw a picture like I drew for the snapshot part, right? The similar kind of a picture, so that you can just draw a reference from there. So this is, and let's assume that this hard disk is filled up. I want to create a launchable template of this. So I want to create a template, right? So a 6-corner star. So let us assume this star is going to be the template. It needs to have the information of the hard disk as well. If this star is the one that is my template, this of course needs to have the information of the hard disk as well. Because when I shall be launching another machine out of this star, I'll be expecting it to come out with all this data also that is over there. Otherwise, what kind of a template it is? A template means it will come with the exact thing from where you took the template. Correct? So if I want that thing to happen, then I definitely need the data also to be stored somewhere. When I want to restore from here, I want this data also to be coming. But the data, unfortunately, this thing that I drew over here, this line is actually not a possible thing on AWS. On AWS, an image cannot contain data. A snapshot can only contain data. So this will not happen. So what it will do, instead of trying to store the data within the image, what it will do, it will not store the data within the image. It will in fact create a new snapshot for the volume, and what it will do is that it will be storing that information of the snapshot over here. So it will create a snapshot. Now if you remember, last time I drew the snapshot with a round. So let's say this is a snapshot that I'm creating, and right, so this is the data part that is coming up over here. Snapshot I'm creating, and that has got all the information about all the data that was there. And what I'm doing, I'm just keeping the reference of this particular thing in my image, so that my image knows that which snapshot to use, right? So when you are asking to launch from this particular image, it will launch it taking this particular snapshot. This is the thing that is happening. So for this reason, whenever I say that I'm going to create a template, or let's say I'm going to create an AMI, an Amazon machine image, it automatically creates a snapshot also. So then if I say that no reboot, what will happen? It will not stop the machine while taking the snap. Now normally, wherever it is taking an image, it generally restarts the machine. I mean, here it is telling running in the green color. That will say running only. It will not change. But you can identify from here. I mean, right now you can see we have logged in, right? So if I try to take this thing, you will see I've got logged out, because it will be actually stopping and starting this thing internally. If you prevent that by clicking on no reboot, then the problem that you will run into is that you cannot really guarantee the data integrity. You cannot really guarantee the data integrity. It might be because when it is running, let's assume it is a database server or something. It is constantly receiving data, and you are saying taking a backup. So what will you take a backup of? It will be like a difficult thing, right? I mean, when bit by bit you are writing, so a particular block you have written already, and a customer is right now on your e-commerce website, and he is trying to do some shopping and all those things, and your server is the database server, and you are taking a backup of that, or you're creating a template, whatever you're doing of that. Now if that server is running right now, constantly it is keeping on creating new data, it is generating new data, and you are taking a backup of it also parallelly. So when the backup you are getting, the backup will be a little bit not so very useful backup, because it will probably have half done data from here and there, because when it was taking the data was not yet completely prepared, it took a backup. So it is better to allow it to reboot. So when it reboots, automatically it will not receive any load anymore. You can understand, because the machine itself is not up. When it is rebooting, that means the machine is shut down and started once again. It is not up. It will not receive any data immediately. If it not receives any data immediately, that simply means that when the backup is taken, the backup will be too much integrated. So you should not check mark this one. I mean, I can do it here because I am not doing something that is very vital, but when you're doing this particular thing, you should not. Okay, let's go and create the image. And And you can see it is telling that it is creating a new AMI. The volume of snapshot will be coming in the snapshot screen. Achha, see this thing, it has got expired over here. If I take you over here, you saw that it is already expired, right, in your mobile stump. If I take you over here to my snapshot screen, you will see a new snapshot is getting created, which is triggered by a create image of this particular thing. So that the image of this particular server I tried to create, which server is this? This is of course the server that we had, 424, right, the same one. So from 424 it is creating an AMI which is created from 424. You can see it will be written somewhere, I guess, or may not be written somewhere, whatever, but this is the one that is getting created. The source, let me read the source. Okay, no, it is not written anywhere, but anyway, so it is getting created from there, we know, because we only wrote this name my lamp. And when you come to snapshots, you'll find out, see, this is the AMI ID 292FD. So it will say in the snapshot screen it is creating for 292FD. That is where it is creating it from. The instance it is taking is 424, and the volume of which it is getting the snapshot of, that is the 10D62. And 10D62, my friend, is the volume that we had been using over here. See this is the one, 10D62. So you understood that it is taking from the current volume, it is taking the snapshot of, and it is also, and that is what I told you in the picture also, that the current volume will be taken a snapshot of over here, right, and the entire thing is getting stored as an AMI. That's what is happening. Once the AMI creation is over, and you can see it is over, let us say that I want to delete this machine, right? So I'm deleting this machine altogether. I am completely terminating it. So I'm gone with everything. I do not have anything left of this machine. This is gone. Fine. So you can see this is terminated. And now if I go to AMI and I launch it, I can launch it from here, and you will see what happens. If I click launch, it opens up with this screen. So it is a complete launching. You can launch it in any other network, wherever you want to do this thing. Another way of launching is this thing, is that you just come to EC2 launch, I mean the typical instance launching, and you come to my AMIs, and you'll find out this thing appearing over here, my lab, and you can select it from there, and you can just go ahead, right, the typical way. You can select your machine, you can select your network. Let's say that was in my VPC, right? This one I'm trying to do in default VPC. I can do it. I'm selecting a security group, let's say, like existing Linux SG default. I'm going to add some tags. I'm going to call this thing that the name is going to be lamp, and I'm going to go ahead and review this particular thing. So all these things are done. I can just go ahead and I can review, and I can basically launch it. So I'm going to launch it. I will take the key pair file that I have over here. So everything is customizable. You can launch it in a bigger machine. You can launch it in a different network. You can do whatever you want because you have it as an AMI right now. But remember, this AMI is also, unlike the typical AMIs, the shipped AMIs that gets shipped with Amazon, that is available in every region. You can go to California, you can create a Linux server, you can go to, but this AMI is only stuck to this particular region. If I go to a different region, this AMI will not be there. So this machine is running, let it launch. But before that, this AMI is only present over here. I mean, if I go to, let's say, for example, Oregon, and I try to see this thing, you will see that this particular AMI will not be present over there, because this is once again bound by the geographical barrier, bound by the particular thing. But if I want to get it over here, I mean, if I try to launch an instance in Oregon also, the typical instance launching that we do, there also you will find out launch instance. If you do in my AMI, it will not come. It is not there. But the only way we can get this particular thing is that if we come back to, let's say, Virginia, and we just copy it back over there. So the typical copy that I was doing in my snapshots, the same thing I can do over here. It is there. You can just go and you can copy AMI, and you can write down that where you are copying, right? So that's it. That's how you send it to some other region. And also you can give the permission to other people by going to modify image permission. I can write down your account number of AWS, and you will be able to see this particular thing under private images in your North Virginia, basically, because it is in North Virginia. If I give you permission, it will be visible only in North Virginia because it is present in North Virginia, and it will be visible under the private images over here. However, I can see that this is launched right now. Let me take this IP address. Let me try to hit it. And once I do so, you will be seeing that the entire thing is coming up. So it is ready with our Apache, MySQL and PHP and all those things, right? So every single thing is installed over here. It is a image that it is like a template that comes with all these things pre-installed. So we had created something, we took an image out of that, we saved the image. Now going forward, whenever I need that, I do not need to start it from the basics. I can directly start from this image, and I'll be already having half the things done.